Hey Nikki, it's really late and I've had a long day, so I'm probably going to ramble. I'm going to warn you about that right off the bat, but I wanted to throw something together to get you kind of started with Scrivener. Now, obviously, I'm on a Mac. I know the Mac and Windows versions have different options because they sell them at different prices. I'm not exactly sure what's different about the two versions, but this is when I first open Scrivener. I get this page. I'm going to do a novel template. I'm going to call it tutorial. I'd already done this earlier tonight, and I'm going to overwrite it, and boom, here we go. So this is when you first open a project. This is what Scrivener looks like, and the first thing I want to mention is up here I have customized this toolbar. So you can go into, let's see, where is it? Customize toolbar on the Mac is in the View menu. You can actually hide the toolbar if you want, or customize it. I like having it there, and like when you click on Customize Toolbar, you can see all the things that you can stick there. You can pretty much, once you kind of go in and play with some of this stuff, you can get a pretty good feel about what you're going to want up here. Honestly, I don't even use half the stuff, even though I've got it customized. So more than likely your toolbar is going to look a lot different than that. That's the long version of this. So the way Scrivener works, let me just give you a little background on this. My understanding from playing around with it is you can go in and you can change things. You can change your labels, you can change your templates, you can make changes like that, and those changes stay local to that project. So if you open up a new project, you have to make those changes again. So once you kind of get the hang of how you want things set up, it would be a good idea to set up your own custom blank project and just let that be your template from here until the end of time. And that way you don't have to go in every time and make changes. To walk you through, this is the binder. This is what I find really powerful about Scrivener, is the binder that it gives you, but we'll come back to that in just a second. This is your editing window where you've got, your normal writing tools. You've got under your format, you've got a lot of your options that you would have in Word, formatting, script writing if you ever want to try screenplays, highlighting, revisions, all that stuff. I'm not going to get too in-depth into that. Over here on the right side, you've got a inspector, and an inspector is something really common to Mac. I don't know if they have it in the Windows version, if they call it something different, just because inspector is so common to Mac programs. But your inspector is really powerful. So you've got your synopsis here in the inspector, and see, it looks like a little index card right here. So that's what's going to show up on your corkboard. Pretty much anything typed into this, and underneath you have options like label options, status options. You have a checkbox to include and compile, page break before, compile as is. I don't know that I've ever used the compile as is. Okay, it says it won't apply the normal settings, like normally it puts title at the top of the page and whatnot, so it doesn't apply those settings. So I think the best way to think about Scrivener is it's like I don't know an analogy to make. There's so much customization. Your manuscript, which is the heart of your story, that's right here. That's just part of what Scrivener utilizes. Okay, so let's say you write out your story. You've got, from your chapter 1 to the very end of the story, your 90,000 words or however many are in your manuscript. So you go down here to like your front matter, and your front matter is where you're going to do things like your title page, your copyright page, your dedication. So this is for a paperback. If you're going to work with an editor, the title page has got like your address, phone number, all that stuff on it. And then you've got like your ebook where you can put your cover in, you can put your dedication page in. So when you go to compile your book, it'll take your manuscript, it'll apply, like if you're doing a paperback novel, it'll apply all the things out of the paperback folder to your book. It'll put your title up at the top and everything. And what you do, now you can go in here where it says project title. This is computer programming code. You can go in and format your title and put it in and like hard code it right there if you want. But you can also go into your metadata settings. Instead of typing it here, you go into project and metadata settings. So the metadata settings, that's going to ask for your project title. That's basically going to be your book title. The abbreviated title, like that would go at the top of every page in a paperback. The author's full name, the author's surname, the author's forename. Then you have labels. So the metadata settings are really important. That's like first thing that I would go and start poking around with. So your labels here, you have idea, label, notes, character notes, chapter, and scene. I want to add another one. I'm going to call it ACTS. A-C-T-S. Okay. And then you see, if I double click there, I get the Mac color picker. I don't know what would come up on Windows, or even if you have this ability, the wheel or whatever. But I get the color changer. I'm going to make that purple. I'm going to make the axe purple. And like one thing I do from the years and years and years I've been reading all these screenwriting books and everything, it's kind of been beaten into my head to approach the story in terms of acts. So screenplays use a 3-act structure, and you divide the second act into 2 parts. So technically it's a 4-act structure. It's an even division between the 4 acts. So I'll show you that in here in just a second. You have statuses. You can go in and do the same thing. You can add your own custom status. I don't really want a custom status, so I'm going to go and delete that. But once you have your outline done, you can give everything in your outline a to-do, a first draft, revised, final draft. There's your title page and a done. And then your custom metadata, I'm not going to get into that. I have used it for something I can't even remember off the top of my head because it's just been that kind of day. So that would definitely be the first thing I would do, is come in and if you've got a general idea what you want to do, I wouldn't even touch this title page stuff. I would just leave the funny looking computer code right there and leave it as is. Okay, so let's come back over here to the binder, and you've got your novel format, and all this is it's supposed to be an instruction sheet. I don't find it very useful. I don't find it easy to read or well written, and people I've talked to say that just delete it. Just delete it. You don't have to delete it. You can try to read through it however you want to do it. It's up to you. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to delete it. So you have your manuscript, and that's a very important section. Okay? And in the manuscript, you have a chapter, you have a scene set up. And if you notice, like in the group mode right here, you have 3 options for the group mode. This option here is the scrivenings. This is the corkboard. This is the outliner view. I like to keep things in the corkboard view at this point in time. Although the book I'm working on right now, I'm really enjoying the outliner view, but we'll get to that in a minute. So you have your manuscript, you have your characters, and what you can do with your characters is basically you can add from a template. So what I'm doing here to bring that menu up, I'm just right-clicking, add from template. You have a character sketch and a setting sketch. I'm going to open up a character sketch just so you can see what a character sketch looks like. This is built into the program. I don't find it extremely useful, but it's it's there. It's not that bad. And then once you type the character's name, their role, their occupation, physical description, all that, you can come over here and you have a few other options. So right over your in your inspector, over the synopsis, you have a section that's like document references. So like if you have a bunch of research down here, you can actually link that right here in your character sketch, URLs, whatnot. And you have keywords, you have metadata. And this is interesting. Well, you have the snapshots. You have comments you can put on here. You can also put pictures. And perhaps you have to be in character sketch mode to do the pictures. We'll get into that in the settings here in just a minute. I'm going to delete this character sketch just for now, just to keep everything kind of clean. This is the front matter section. Well, we have a places section I skipped over, and it's the same thing. New from templates. You have a settings sketch. I haven't really found all that very useful. And anything you don't like, you just delete. Anything, you want to keep your manuscript, obviously, but the characters folder, and that's all these are. These are folders with funny icons on them. So if you don't want the characters folder, if you don't need it, throw it away. If you don't want the places folder, throw it away. The front matter you need, the manuscript you need. The research folder is kind of cool because you have, this is them showing you what output looks like when you compile your book. Sample outputs, they stick that in the research folder. I'm going to delete that. So the research folder is kind of cool because you can actually import websites. So let's go import Google, right? And then it's like it took a snapshot of Google's web page. And then if you click in it, it'll take you out to a browser, but it's right there in your research. So any web page you find, you can import that in, copy and paste. You can drag PDFs, anything, pictures, whatever you want. You can drag those into your research. Not going to end up in the book. It's just stuff that you can have to keep in one place. And of course, like with the research folder, you can add new folders. You can add new text, and it all just kind of shows up like you've got it pinned to a board there. This is the template sheet section. This is what I was talking to you about. So you have your character sketch and your setting sketch. Now what's really cool is you can go in and you can change these however you want. You can add to them, you can take away from them, you can make it however you want them to be. And then every time you go up here and click on new from template, your template changes will actually show up. So I don't know if that made sense or not. I'm going to create a new template. I'm going to call this the scene sketch. Okay. Just to show you in the template sheets, anything you create in here becomes a template, and it's accessible basically anywhere in Scrivener, where you add it in the manuscripts, add it in the research or whatever. So I've created a scene sketch. Now over here in the synopsis area of the inspector, you have it looks like an index card. And whatever you write in here is going to show up on the index card. So I'm going to set up a basic goal, obstacle, response, and then emotion. And so you see how I type that in here, and it shows up on this card, which is where I want it. This is what I want for outlining. And we'll come back to that in just a second. And then the trash, everything I've thrown away, it stays in the trash. You have to make a deliberate choice to empty the trash. I don't know why you would, unless the file gets so stinking big that you can't contain it anymore. And then speaking of file size, what I do is I just save everything in a Dropbox folder, and then it's up to date on both of my computers. I have Scrivener on my phone and my iPad, and it keeps up to date on all those devices automatically without me having to think about it. But if it got to be like a 200 or 300 megabyte file and I had a bunch of crap in the trash and I could delete it and make room, then I might do it. Otherwise, I'll just leave everything in the trash. And that's the binder. You can add whatever you want to the binder. You can add, we can create a new folder. Let's just go ahead and call that outline. And you see this, it's got a little boring. It looks like a folder. It looks like something you've added in, but you can go down here and change the icon to anything you want. You can change it to a book. I tend to like crazy stuff. I'm going to make this an outline, so I'm going to turn that into a blackboard. Okay, and you can actually drag that all the way up here, and it's hard to show in the video, but when I'm dragging, there's like this little shepherd's hook thing that comes out, and it shows you, see these things that are kind of indented, that's called nested, and so it shows you if something's nested or not. Like here in the new folder, I'm going to create just blank text just to see, you got, this is your main level here, this is a nested level, this is nested within a nested level. It can kind of go on like Inception like that for a long time. So, and I'm just, in the sake of keeping everything clean, I'm going to throw that out. So you see kind of how I've deleted everything I'm not going to use in the binder. I'm not going to use the places. Well, maybe I'll use the places. I'll keep that. I've deleted everything I'm not going to use in the binder, and I've kind of simplified it so it's not as daunting to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work in this corkboard area. Okay. So down here at the bottom, you have options to change your card size, the ratio. You can make it bigger, smaller, whatever. And then you have, this is called the grid button, and it locks the cards down pretty tight. So, for example, from template, this is my scene sketch. Remember that from the template? But actually, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to add a card. I'm going to add a new card, and then I'm going to add a new card next to that. Okay. And see how I've added these two cards, and they're just lined up together. Okay, I'm going to call this one Act 1. I'm going to call this one Act 2A. And you see, if I want to move them around, they're pretty much locked in place. They're not going anywhere. But if you pick this little side, pick this little guy here, this is called the freeform card editor. And the problem is you can nest cards underneath each other if you're not careful. But the cool thing about the freeform card editor is you just double click, and it creates a new card wherever you double clicked. So now I have Act 1, Act 2, I can move them around. This is my outline. I can do whatever I want to with them. What I want to do right now, I'm going to come over here and select all of these. Oh, I can't do that. Okay. I'm going to select one at a time then, since it won't let me select all of them at once. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change the label. Ah, no, it didn't. I'll have to go back up to metadata settings and do that again. Label. Act. I thought we already did this. Maybe we didn't. Maybe I hit cancel when I backed out of it. I don't know. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to call this my Act 1. And you notice that little push pin changed. I'm going to call this Act 2. And then the other thing over here, I don't want my acts included in the compile. So I'm going to unclick that. And I'll tell you why here in just a second. So So I don't know that I like them just hanging out there, so I'm going to get them all nice and neat again. But really, that's the button you can turn your binder on and off. And see, if you turn your binder and your inspector off, then you've just got index cards, and that's kind of cool to work with, just a virtual index card system. And speaking of index cards, if you go into your preferences, like with the cork board, you can change the background, custom color, custom background, graph paper, however you want it. Let me move this to where you can see the card. So you have the red and blue. You can change it to a rounded card, and it just puts a stripe there. If you don't really want the fake push pin, red and blue, blue and black, just aesthetically, whatever looks best to you. You can move the push pin, center or the right, doesn't matter. The status stamp. Let's give this a status of to do. Give this a status of to do. So let's go back into preferences. Status stamp. It's not showing up. What a jerk. Okay. I don't know why it's not showing up, but normally it writes your status right there, like to do or done or final draft or whatever. So I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to spend a super amount of time trying to figure that part out. While we're in your settings, let's see, appearance, gender, general, gender, let's see, appearance, notepad lines, full screen, corkboard. You can change the font if you want on the cards. I mean, you've got a lot of customization. You can display images in the cards, that sort of thing. Compose, navigation, editing options, formatting, corrections. Okay. You can set it to automatically back up too, which is nice. What I want to do is go to my view. Let's see here. We'll use label, color, and binder. Okay, and see how that turned that on, and now I've got these bright purple Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4. So what I want to do is add new text underneath Act 1, and you know, that may be your Chapter 1. That may be how you decide you want to do that. And then I actually set up, let me just go ahead and open it. I'll show you what I've been working with here. So I did this, I didn't do an outline, I did this in my regular, but I set up folders for all my chapters. I did the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 2A, Act 2B, whatever. And then this is the outliner view that I'm finding so awesome. And what I did is I started with those 4 acts, and then I decided what I wanted the first chapter to be like, and I started writing that out. And then I just went from there. I decided I wanted 28 chapters just randomly. It may not end up being, when I start writing it out, they may be too big for chapters. It may be split up into two, what I'm calling a chapter in the outline, maybe 2 or 3 chapters. But just for the sake of demonstration, let's say Chapter 1. And then what you want to do here, let's say Chapter 1 is a car chase between Ashley and the police. So the chase ends with a crash. And that's Chapter 1. what else would be happening in chapter 1? Don't know. I'm just going to call that. Let's see. Why were they in a car chase? I don't know. I really think it's a good idea to start this story off with a police chase, though. Yeah. Might be a short chapter. And then after that, I want to add chapter 2. This is going to be, say, let's call this the Hunter at Big Company. I don't even have a name for the company. This is a nano, I'm taking scenes from a NaNoWriMo that I wrote like in 2005. I don't remember much about it. I never even bothered to do a second version of it because I didn't really care for the story that much, but that's neither here nor there. Chapter 3. Ashley wakes up. So that's just a basic, this is what I've got. Okay? So, and notice I set these up as text. Let's say I wanted those, let's say instead of a text, I decided I wanted that to be a folder. So it's just as simple as right click, convert to folder. If you don't want it to be a folder, you want it to go back to a file, just convert to file. I think chapter 1. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add from template. Remember the scene sketch that I created earlier? So this is the car chase. And the reason I did the goal obstacle response is this is something I came across like maybe 6 weeks ago, and it's really helped me out. And the guy says debate, just because I'm calling this a scene, there could be like 5 of these in an actual scene. So what the guy that I was reading this from was saying that every scene needed your main character needed to have a goal, and they needed some obstacle standing between them and the goal, and they needed a response to the obstacle. So to get away from the cops, and the obstacle is going to be other traffic, and her response is going to be drive on the sidewalk. Okay, so that's car chase 1, and then I'm going to add another, like a scene sketch. Car chase 2. The goal, get away from the police. The obstacle now is people walking on the sidewalk, and the response is to cut back into traffic. And let's just say it's not just people walking on the sidewalk, it's also lamp stands, benches, and other objects. Okay, so then we have like car chase number 3 is coming up next, right? This is all just riveting stuff, I know. I'm going to add from template, scene sketch, car chase number 3. So the goal is to get back on the road. The obstacle is other cars. The cops are trying to block her. The entry, her response is to honk horn and cut over. So let's say these are our 3, and you can keep going, you can just keep going, but we've got our 3 car chase things, and these all go in chapter 1. So you just I don't know, I hope you saw what I did there. I held command, I don't know what the option on a computer, on a PC would be, but I held command, clicked on all 3 of these to select them, and just dragged them over chapter 1, and then now they're inside that folder. So And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not. The way Scrivener works is it automatically looks at folders as chapters when you go to compile. And you can, you see, so have your options over here. You can have a page break before the chapter, whatnot. As far as I know, your folders have to be. I'm not really good at compiling, and if you get that far into it and you need help, then we'll figure it out. You'll probably are going to get. You may need to know more about compiling before I ever get there. I'm a very terribly slow writer. But so here we are. So this is chapter 1. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, this is how I would build the outline. And, you know, I have my notes here, my Act 1 notes, and I have this Lorem Ipsum copied. So, you know, I just type that in, and that tells me everything I want to accomplish in Act 1. And then when I get to the Act 2, that'll tell me, you know, I'll write out some more stuff that'll tell me everything I want to accomplish when I get there. So on and so forth. And then I just fill out with chapters. And like we've got our chapter 1 here. Let's go look at the scrivenings. Oh, I didn't put any text in there. Duh. So when you're in the corkboard, right? See how you've got a title bar up here? It's kind of the top part of the card. If you double click on that, you can change the title. If you click on the little icon, it takes you inside. And it's the same thing as going over here and clicking. Okay. So chapter 1, I'm going to paste my Lorem Ipsum. Let's pretend I wrote. Let's pretend I wrote. Let's pretend I wrote. So this is chapter 1, and I have writing in all 3 of these. You know, I think of it as the back of the card when I double click and write there. So and also up here in your view mode, that's your scrivening mode. This is your outline mode. Let me show you the outline mode real quick because I talked about that. So everything that's written on your card in the outline mode, see how I wrote a lot more stuff than actually fits on the card, or yeah, right there. So in outline mode, it'll actually write it all out, and it'll give you the label, the status, word count. You can actually right click on here and it will give you a ton of options, like a column for total words and whatnot, and that applies to everything in your document. So this is the Act 1. I can go in here and I can say, well, I wrote way too much on the Act 1. It's like 15 paragraphs. Trim that down so you can actually go in there and edit that, and then you can see here's chapter 1, and it's telling me that inside that folder, inside that chapter 1 folder, there's 3,894 words written. And then if you open up chapter 1, it breaks it down per section. This is your car chase 1, car chase 2, car chase 3. That's the outline mode. You can, when you're done, when you have your outline and you're happy with it, you can print this off and it'll look basically like you see on the page, which to me is the most wonderful thing, because my plan is to have that print off on the book I'm working on. It says it's 20 some odd pages already, so to have that 20 or 30 pages next to the computer while I write and have a pen and be able to mark things off and everything, that's what I'm really looking forward to with the outline mode. But let's come back over here. Let's go into chapter 1. We've got these three index cards, right? So right now, if we were to print that, see there's a line here. Scroll down a little bit further, there's a line here. It divides what was written between those 3 cards. It splits that up, you know, puts a divider between it. So that's not really what you want. I mean, these are components of a bigger scene, but we don't want the scene broken up like that. So what you can do, I think, let's go over here. I'm going to hit car chase 1 to car chase 3, and I'm going to go into document, and I'm going to go to, what is the merge? merge right there, and then boom, and then it turns that. See, it combines all three cards. And when you go into the scrivenings, it's just one big thing. Now you might, your spacing's off a little bit or whatnot. You might have a little bit of cleanup to do. But you've gone from that beat breakdown. Because like if you're breaking a scene down into individual goal, obstacle, reaction, that's basically a beat, right? So if say you had 30 of those make up one scene, you can combine all 30 back up together. Or, this is an outline. And, well, it's not giving me the ability to undo the merge. So if you want to do the merge, you better make sure that you want to do the merge, right? But that gives you an idea. And again, my other document, you can see, I'll show you here. Whoa, flux. I don't need flux on. I can, you can see here, like, this is how I'm going. My plan is when I get the outline done, I'm going to duplicate the manuscript. I'm going to have the rename it as outline, like we've done here, the nice, neat version, and then go into the manuscript and write like normal. And so, now that I've said that, we can go in here into the manuscript. Let's get into the editor just for a second, okay? So you have your tab stop up here. You have your formatting. I ought to turn script mode on so you can see that too. But you have your formatting, and let's see, you have presets. Title, heading, subheading, body, quote. You can, if you go in and like write a body, a paragraph of text as a body, you can change your font, change your size, change all that, and then go up to format and formatting and redefine preset, and then just pick whichever one you want. It's helpful because, if you write your entire manuscript, and I think the reason they do this is so you can do your formatting if you're going to do your paperback or PDF or whatever, and like you wrote everything in Times New and you want to change it to Arial, you can go in and change the body formatting, and it applies to everything you wrote. You don't have to go in and highlight everything and then go through each chapter, each scene. Let's see. Convert bibliography. This is one of the screenplay mode exists. I want you to understand the screenplay mode exists. This is one of the worst screenwriting programs I've ever tried to use, but you can do character. I don't even know if that's letting me do dialogue. I don't know if I have caps lock on. This is horrible. This is horrible. It exists. I'm gonna turn that off. So standard mode. You type like normal. You have a compose. Let's see. Where's the compose mode? Which is kind of nice. It's pretty self-explanatory as well, but you can paper width, you have your background, you can fade your background in and out, you can put pictures back there. My understanding is that some people have pictures with inspirational things over here, and then they write over here. However you need to do that. That's pretty self-explanatory. One thing I like, I'm going to go ahead and paste that Lorem Ipsum in here. One thing I really like is if you can go in your preferences and in your editor, there's a typewriter mode. and you can set where you want the typewriter mode to be, the scroll line. And you can actually highlight the current line, which I'm going to do that. And then, where's typewriter mode? Okay, there is a typewriter mode. I've put a button up here for typewriter mode. You can see there's a little check mark when it's on. That's where I customize my toolbar. But let me get down here and see how it adjusts the screen. That's about all it does. It's typewriter mode. I don't know if you can see it or not. The highlighter, it just puts a little yellow stripe there on the line you're on, so you can kind of see that. That's really all there is. The editor's pretty stinking basic. That's about all there is to that. So for every one of these like cards, you know, when you go and you add new text, you get a new editor basically for every one of these. And then, okay, let's say, whoopsie, you can click on this. I'm going to put a, let's say I have a scene where they shoplift at the mall. And then I decide, well, I want that to be what causes the car chase. And then I can go in here and just move the shoplifting at the mall, and everything that was written in the shoplifting at the mall goes up. Or I can go into the chapter 1, I can go into the screenwriting mode, or not screenwriting, the corkboard mode, and swap things around. Or if I decide, let's go ahead and convert that to a folder. And let's say I decide that I want chapter 1 to be shoplifting at the mall and chapter 2 is the car chase. You see how easy that is to move things between chapters. There's no cutting and pasting. It's literally, it is what it is. And let's say, see how I moved the car chase scene out? I can convert that. I can convert the car chase itself to a folder, and then it becomes its own chapter. So that's what I really like. That's what really makes me happy about Scrivener, in a nutshell, is the ability to outline. And then I don't have anything written on this. This is all just outline, but I don't really have a project I can open and show you that's not a complete and total disaster or mess. But let's say you've got your entire book done. You've got it done. You're ready to send it out in the world. Then you go up to compile. You go to File and Compile. And then you format it as a novel. You compile the manuscript, right? Your front matter, you get to pick. Remember the manuscript format, paperback, novel, ebook. You get to pick that. Paperback novel. You can convert your smart quotes to plain text, which we don't want to do that. Or let's say you want to do an ebook, and then it gives you a completely different set of options. So you want to do so the novel, I guess, novel would be like a manuscript you'd send to a publisher, editor, agent, somebody. Paperback novel, like all of these things give you different options. So ebook, iBook, whatever, title, cover, and then that's your summary options. And then you can go over to all options. You can set what your separator will be. You can put pictures in there. You can put characters, whatever you want it to be. That's your cover, your formatting, title adjustment, layout, all this stuff. So the power in this is you can lay out your paperback book. You can lay out your ebook. You can do all that from inside Scrivener, theoretically. I have never been able to get, I've tried to print out PDFs of things, and I've never been able to get them to look like I wanted them to. But theoretically, you can do it all inside of Scrivener. And yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know if that's helpful or not, or I don't know. Hopefully it is. Feel free to if I went too fast or just made it a jumbled, confusing mess, I'd be glad to try to help you with it. But I think that's all I've got for tonight. So I hope that helps. And I really like Scrivener, and there's tons of stuff on YouTube that might help you get started too, that probably are explained a lot better than what I did here tonight. But anyway, that's it. So.